Welcome to the Primo's Musings podcast.
Good evening. This is Sri Primo with a quick review or a preview of the 2025 NCAA Men's Basketball Tournament, which is the premier tournament in the country that goes on in March, also known as the March Madness. It is probably the most monumental event in the American sporting calendar. Every spring, an excitement builds as 68 college basketball teams embark on a great journey to determine the national champion. And over the past 2 years, my alma mater, the UCONN Huskies, have won it back to back. We will get to their I would say chances of winning a three-peat, but before we get that, a few things to note. This tournament is being traditionally known for historical upsets. A one seed beating a 16 seed, two seed beating a 15 seed. It's happened multiple times. The sport enthusiasts all over the country are really given an opportunity to see some of the teams that they normally see. I mean, obviously, you have teams from the power conferences, such as the SEC and the Big Ten, but the tournament has historically been known for, as they call it, the little guy, the folks in mid majors that you would normally see, like a St. Mary's, or many years ago you had like a George Mason making a run, or a Florida Atlantic that have made some runs deep into the tournament. And there is also a lot of opportunity that you see that these major teams come out of nowhere and beat some of the marquee teams. And you've had the Loyola team, you had the St. Peter's run a few years ago. Last year you had Yale going on significant upsets, and they're in the bracket this time as well. And the bracketologists, as you call the folks that predict, are quite sought out for. I mean, they're the ones who everybody here tries to mimic their brackets based on their predictions. And there is always a great story that goes on about Warren Buffett trying to pay $1 million to a perfect bracket that has not happened in many, many years. And this is where we call the Cinderella teams. You see the lower seed teams with the that potentially can outperform their seeding and upset some of the higher seeds. And again, this is completely different from the NCAA football, where the marquee teams usually get a chance to kind of play for the national championship. But March Madness has been traditionally known for a lot of upsets. UConn, my alma mater, won it as a 4 seed, as a 1 seed, as a 7 seed. This time they're an 8 seed, but I think their road has a lot of hurdles, especially because they have to play Florida if they win the first round of the first round. So let's quickly get down to this year tournament. So this year tournament, these are the four teams that are representing the respective regions. You have Auburn representing the South, Florida from the West, Duke from the East, and Houston from the Midwest. And let's see how this prediction will go. Let's quickly go down region by region, and we'll start with with the South bracket. And SEC has had 14 teams, Big Ten almost close to 8 teams. And the South region is a very highly competitive bracket. As I mentioned, Auburn is the 1 seed, is the favorite to emerge from this region, and they have constantly demonstrated a lot of success throughout the SEC as well. And in the first round, typically The 1 seed is actually favored against the 16 seed. Some of the big upsets that typically go on is the 5-12 matchup, the 4-13 matchup, where you have last year you had Yale as the number 13 seed upset Auburn last year, and Yale was the 13th seed. So you have a lot of very great matchups in the South region, and especially a lot of SEC teams. So you could have uh, Auburn, Tennessee, Michigan State. These are some of the teams that you have um, in the um, in the South region. And this year, Tom Izzo has brought a good team. Michigan State, a lot of people are picking the Michigan State program to go to the Elite Eight. Now, the question is, can they beat Auburn to get to the Final Four? That's going to be the big question. Um, you definitely have some solid teams um, in the South region. And let's, quickly go down to the South region. You got Auburn, like as I mentioned. I have the biggest matchup there in the South region is going to be between Louisville and Creighton. Um, Unfortunately for Creighton, which finished second in the Big East, they lost to St. John's in the Big East tournament. They finished second in the overall standings in the regular season. They have to travel to where Louisville plays normally. I mean, in the same state. So you got Louisville, which was in the final in the ACC tournament, playing against Creighton, and I see Louisville easily, kind of prevailing over Creighton. It's a bad draw for Creighton, being a 9 seed, despite the fact that they finished second. UConn is the 8 seed, Marquette's the 7 seed. And then you have Michigan also that lost in the Big Ten tournament to no Michigan that won the Big Ten tournament against Wisconsin. Wisconsin was up for most part, and then you got a lot of people are picking Texas A&M, but they have a very tough bracket against Yale, and I think I'm going to go with like Texas A&M, and then you got North Carolina, which a lot of people said that they didn't really feel that they belong, but they had a huge win yesterday, and they get the right to play Ole Miss, and it's a 6-11 matchup. And North Carolina is playing with a lot of confidence right now, and I would not count them out against a team like Ole Miss. But I'm going to go with Ole Miss. And then you got some exciting matchup. I said Tom Izzo playing against Bryant. Bryant made it as a 15 seed. I think they're going to give Michigan State some trouble in the first round, but I do see uh, Michigan State prevailing there. So then when I look at the round of 32, you would have Auburn playing Louisville. Very good matchup there. I expect Auburn to get through. I think a lot of questions. Can Auburn? They have a very solid team, but I do think that they could prevail against Louisville. And then you got Michigan and Texas A&M. I definitely feel that Texas A&M. I definitely see them as a dark horse. They played really well. Even in the they have some very good scores. They've won some good matchups. Um, so I feel that they got Wade Taylor who's scoring pretty well. 15.7 points a game. So I feel that Texas A&M will probably move forward to play against Auburn in the Sweet 16. And then you got the Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss can beat North Carolina, and they'll play the Iowa State. And I'm picking Iowa State this year to move on to Sweet 16 along with Michigan State. I'm a big Tom Izzo fan, and in the like I said, in the matchup, I think it's Auburn, Texas A&M, and Iowa State, Michigan State, and I'm predicting Auburn and Iowa State. I almost wanted to pick Michigan State, um, but um, But I think, you know what? I will stay with Tom Izzo. I think I'm a big believer in Tom Izzo and his team, and we'll go with that to that. So that pretty much wraps up the South bracket. Um, let's go to, I'll come to the West bracket later, but let's go to the East bracket quickly. You got Duke playing the East bracket. When I look at Duke, you had Cooper Flag, who definitely. Good thing is that I don't think it's a. A lot of people did say that there was a high ankle sprain, but I was listening to a podcast, the Field of 68, and I do think that they feel that Cooper Flag should be fine. This is the bracket for Duke to lose. They are the number one seed. Cooper Flag, a phenom, potential number one pick in the NBA draft. I think this gives them one of the best chances for Duke to go all the way. They have uh, great offensive and defensive efficiency, but they do have some very tough teams in that region. So let's quickly go down to some of the matchups here in the East region. I don't see any problem for Duke in the first round. Then you got the 8-9 matchup. You got Mississippi and Baylor. I saw Baylor play a lot earlier, but I do feel that Mississippi is going to move on in this matchup, the 8-9. And then the Oregon Liberty, I was very conflicted. A lot of people are calling for the 5-12 upset. Liberty Flames, as they are known, they have some uh, players who could pose a lot of trouble for Oregon. Uh, I do think that um, there's not going to be an easy matchup for Oregon. Although I do feel that Oregon will prevail. Expect Liberty to stay very very close in this matchup. And then you got Arizona and Akron. Um, uh, I do think that the Akron Zips, as they're called, um, they do have some good players, and Nate Johnson, and but I do feel that Arizona has played well. They've been dominant on the boards, and I think that's the key sometimes in the NCAA tournaments when you have a team that is as dominant. I did manage to catch some maybe one matchup of Arizona. Not I have not seen them play, but I do see that they are led by Caleb Love. So that's something that the Wildcats are one of the best teams in the 3 point. Making they're very good at the free throw line. Um, the problem that they probably may have is the if Akron just goes on in a 3 point shooting spree, it could be a problem for Arizona. So I feel, but I'm still going to pick Arizona in that matchup, the 4-13 matchup. And then you've got the BYU VCU. This BYU is a very underrated team, mind you. I feel that the Cougars definitely they're one of the hottest teams entering the tournament. They are led by Richie Saunders. They rely on taking a ton of 3 pointers. It's going to be a very interesting matchup for VCU, but I do expect BYU to prevail. And then you got the Big Ten runner-up in Wisconsin playing against Montana. Do I see an upset there? I they're a well-rounded team, but they don't have any star power. But I definitely feel that while Montana has not many chances to win, they're going to pose some trouble for Wisconsin. I still expect Wisconsin to prevail in the 3-14 matchup. Then you got the perennial mid-majors, St. Mary's and Vanderbilt. It's a 7-10 matchup. I definitely think St. Mary's is going to prevail there, beating Vanderbilt. A lot of questions on if Vanderbilt should have made the tournament as well. Um, and the Gales, they last year they played as the number 5 seed. They do rank one of the best in rebound margin, and I feel that they're going to, they did beat, Gonzaga in the tournament, or I think in their conference. I uh, I feel that I feel that they're going to be a tough team to beat, and I think they move on, and then you got Alabama also moving on. So let's quickly go down to the round of 32. You got Duke, and Duke definitely. I'm going to go pick Duke, and then you got Oregon, Arizona. I'm going to go with Arizona there, and then BYU and Wisconsin. I am a big believer in BYU, and then you got Alabama in the other bracket. So I think it's going to be a Duke versus Alabama in the Elite Eight um, matchup as well. So then let's quickly go down to the next bracket. Um, we're done with the South. We'll come to the West. Let's go to the Midwest, which is the Houston section. Houston playing on SIU. I don't feel that that Houston's probably one of the best teams. I definitely think they are a great team, and that could go all the way as well. Um, so when we go to the Midwest, it's Houston. It's a pretty challenging bracket for Houston. They're the number one seed. Kelvin Sampson, great coach. He's got a lot of tournament success, but they're going to have very tough teams in the bracket. You've got Iowa State and you've got Tennessee in that region. So let's quickly go down to game by game. You got Houston, like I said, the number one. They're going to move on to the round of 32, and then you got Gonzaga, Georgia. Great pickup. UConn did play Gonzaga earlier this year. They are on target. Mark Few's team is on target to make the 10th straight Sweet 16. They won another WCC tournament. They got a lot of good experience with Ike and Brandon Huff and Ryan Nembard, who was really good, and they get some transfers as well. Um, they're solid. They hit the free throws really good. It sets up them for a good round. And I'm picking Gonzaga to beat Georgia in the first round. And then you got Clemson, McNeese State. I'm picking Clemson there, guys. I mean, I think Clemson coming out from the ACC, very solid team, very underrated team as well. They have the school best 27 wins. They did have a win against Duke in the regular season, and they also beat Kentucky. So I do feel that they're one of the very top defensive teams. They average about 7.5 steals a game. Offensively, they allow only 65 points. Um, the one thing is that they had a good chance against Louisville in the semifinal ACC, came up short. Louisville went to the final, lost to Duke. So, and I do think that they're the hottest team, one of the hottest teams, 15-2 in the last 17 games, and I feel that they are going to go move forward and beat McNeese. And then we come down to the 4-13 matchup, which is Purdue playing High Point. Purdue led by Braden Smith, whom we saw against UConn last year, uh, averaging 16 points a game. And the only thing I would tell about Purdue is that when the way they finished this tournament, I didn't think or way they finished the season, they lost 6 of the last 9 games. They're not really in great form entering the NCAA tournament, but they did have some huge wins. They did beat Alabama, Michigan, Maryland, Oregon, Ole Miss, and UCLA. Pretty much every team in the who are all in the NCAA tournament right now. They got a good offense and good three-point shooting team. Like I said, Braden Jr., point guard Braden Smith. So I feel that their chance of winning the first round against High Point could give them trouble, but I don't feel Purdue's going to lose that game. And then you got the other team that UConn played last year, Illinois, playing against, I think Illinois is going to definitely move forward in this matchup. I think they play the winner of Texas Xavier. I think that's probably uh, going on right now. Um, uh, as a matter of fact, Texas is up 28-17. Xavier from the Big East, Texas. Both the teams that played against UConn beat Texas easily. Xavier did get a win against UConn. So right now it seems like Texas is going to play against Illinois. And I feel that Illinois is a good, solid team, and they will move on. And then you got Kentucky playing Troy, Mark Pope's team playing against Troy. They bring one of the best offenses in the team. They got both inside and outside playing from the tough SEC. Um, The only thing is that Kentucky has not advanced past the first weekend since 2019, so there's a great opportunity for them to move on. So I feel Kentucky moves on in this matchup to play against Illinois. And then you got UCLA and playing against Utah State. UCLA, which is Dr. Dan McCronen's team, um, they do enter the tournament on a pretty bad way. They did lose to Wisconsin in a blowout loss in the Big Ten tournament. But it's a streaky team, you know. Uh, I think they go back and forth. They did knock off Michigan State. A lot of people are picking Michigan State to go to the Elite Eight. They beat Gonzaga. They beat Arizona and Wisconsin again. They beat all the teams that are in the tournament right now. And they are good, solid defensively. They force a lot of turnovers, but um, let's see what happens when they play against Utah State. I'm definitely picking UCLA against um, Utah State. And then we finally come to Tennessee. Tennessee is probably one of the best teams, best number two seeds, I would say. Um, so I feel that they are going to be very tough, and they're probably one of the best defensive teams that you're going to see. They defend the three as good as any team in the nation. Um, I saw the stat about where they held opponents to close to the 27.6% shooting from the arc, which is lowest in the country. And then the same thing is that they got excellent shot blockers, defending both inside and outside. And then that's what will help Tennessee get past uh, uh, the round against Wofford, and then they go against and play against um, UCLA, which will be a great great matchup in the second round. Who would have thought that? Um, so that's and then let's quickly dive down to the West bracket. In the West, this is where UConn's always been great, but the team that's everybody's been talking about is Florida. The Florida is the number one seed. They have everything needed to make a very deep run and even possibly win the national championship. A lot of people, a lot of the brackets I saw, apart from Duke, they're probably the most picked team to win the tournament. Obviously, they do have St. John's in the bracket there, but again, not only you have St. John's, but you do have my alma mater, which is UConn, which is there in the West bracket. So let's quickly down, and I'm going to go on the reverse side here. I'll come to the UConn. You got St. John's playing Omaha. Rick Pitino's team, what a season they've had this year. RJ Lewis has been one of the solid players, 18.4 points a game. You got Ejiofor as well, who's playing solid. One thing that St. John doesn't do well is not shoot the three. So they're probably going to let the team see if they can. They don't shoot the threes much, but they are probably one of the best defensive teams. I watched St. John's play at least many times. They had a big win against Marquette, buzzer beater. Then they beat UConn twice. They blew out UConn at the Garden, and they won not only the Big East regular season, they went on to win the tournament, beating Creighton. Their defense is just phenomenal. I mean, you just see that the way Pitino coaches the team. Like I said, solid defense, keep the game close in the first half, but then go on in the second half with their defense, lockdown defense. And while they don't shoot well from the three, like I said, 30%, when you have like a player like RJ Lewis, there's a matchup problem for any team. I think um, St. John's definitely, I have confidence in the team. And then this is one of the great good matchups where you got Kansas, Bill Self's team playing against John Calipari's team, Arkansas. I didn't think Arkansas deserved to be in that, but Jayhawks are probably one of the experienced team. Hunter Dixon, still, I don't think he ever graduates, but he's still been there. They crashed the defensive glass with a lot of tenacity, and I do think that they're going to pose a lot of problems for Arkansas, and I expect Kansas to prevail there. against Arkansas. Then you got the Texas Tech. A lot of people are picking Texas Tech to make a very deep run. I definitely think that when you look at Texas Tech, the one thing that they have is that they have a star forward, J.K. Toppin, the Red Raiders, a great three-point shooting team, great offensive team as well. So I do think that I feel that they're going to win that first round matchup. And then you got Drake and Missouri. This was a very tough matchup. It was a 6-11 matchup. A lot of people big on Drake as well. Missouri Tigers, they're an excellent shooting team, but um, I do think that they are in a tough battle with Drake. I was debating back and forth. I'm going to go with Drake as an upset pick. And then you got the Grand Canyon, Maryland. I do feel that this is a huge game for the Terrapins, and they play strong defense. But the one thing is that I I'm going to go the other way, and I'm going to pick um, Grand Canyon to move on, beat the 4-13 matchup. And then you got the Memphis, Colorado State. Memphis, excellent team. They beat UConn and Maui. Uh, that was a good win for them. That was a notable win. They won by 2 points, 99-97, but it was a close game. They did beat Michigan State as well, all close games, but they also lost to some very bad losses like Arkansas State. Um, they won the AAC tournament pretty convincingly. Um, I don't see Memphis losing this game against Colorado State. Then we get to finally to the UConn and Oklahoma 8-9 matchup. McNeely is healthy, Ball is healthy. A very streaky team throughout the year, having watched pretty much every UConn game. They're a different team than what they were last year, but one good thing is that Caravan is coming off late, playing pretty well, and has been effective. The one Achilles heel for UConn will be their defense. They've not played solid defense. That's been the biggest vulnerabilities for their season so far. But while they still play some good interior defense, they are not great defending the three. And the other thing is that if UConn has to win this matchup, they need to drive to the basket. Um, but UConn, like I said, when you look at what they've done, they won 5 of the last 6, or I would say 7 of the last 9. So they've ended pretty good. They've got some very key wins during that stretch with Marquette against Marquette and Creighton and Marquette twice. Um, but the thing is, like they definitely need to think about the 2 losses they had against St. John's. One was very close at home that they should have won that game, and then the other one was they were close earlier, but then they got blown out in the second half. So I feel that UConn's going to beat Oklahoma, and then they will get to play the one of the favorites to win this. I mean, the best backcourt you have, the excellent defense. They got pretty much everything. They got like 6 or 7 guys that can rotate. There's not many weakness on the squad. They're probably one of the overall favorites in the NCAA tournament. But one of their Achilles heels, like every other team, is a poor free throw shooting team. So that's going to be very key, especially a very close matchup. I don't see any problems in their first round matchup against Norfolk State. Let's quickly dive down to the matchup in for the next round. You got Florida playing against UConn, Memphis, Grand Canyon, Drake, Texas Tech, Kansas, and St. John's. I feel St. John's is going to move, and I think I'm actually riding on Drake, just like Yale did the upsets last year. I'm going to go with Drake. This is my Cinderella team going all the way to Sweet 16. So I got Drake playing in St. John's. Then you got Memphis playing against Grand Canyon. I'm picking Memphis there. And I got Florida against UConn. As much as it pains me to say this thing, I'm going to pick against my alma mater. So I think I pick Florida to go to play against Memphis and Drake St. John's. And then when I look at the Elite Eight matchups, I this is my Elite Eight matchups at this point. I got Houston playing Tennessee, Duke playing Alabama, Florida playing St. John's, and Auburn playing Iowa State, which is basically I picked all the 1 and 2 seeds in most brackets, except in the South bracket, I picked the 1 and 3 seed. And then again, I'll still be doing like another uh, matchup after prior to the Sweet 16, prior to Elite Eight, prior to Final Four. But as for now, as it stands, these are the teams I'm picking. And then in the uh, Final Four, I got Auburn playing against St. John's. That's an upset I'm calling. I'm calling for St. John's to upset Florida. Not a great pick, a lot of people might say, but I think I've seen St. John's play enough. I've seen Florida play once or twice. They're a very good team, but again, when you play against a team like St. John's that has stifling defense, uh, I think I see St. John's going to the, uh, beating Florida and go to the Final Four. And then the other one, I got Duke playing Houston. Um, I'm big on Houston this year. And then you got the final between Duke and Houston. I think I do have Cooper Flag will be much healthier. I see them going all the way to the final. And then I get St. John's. I'm riding St. John's all the way to the final against Duke. And I have Duke winning that matchup against St. John's on April 7th in San Antonio. So that's where I see everything going as of today. The tournament starts tomorrow, as we were talking about. Um, there's still some, the last four in matches going on right now. Um, it's a close game between Texas and Xavier. It's 11-point game. I feel Texas will prevail. I mean, that's a team you kind of played. So that's how we do this is the quick preview of the NCAA tournament. I'm really looking forward to the games tomorrow and day after tomorrow. This is the best 4 days of sports you can ever have. I think nothing matches March Madness. When it comes to the intensity, it comes to the Cinderella, it comes to the teams that will make a run, unknown heroes, um, upsets galore, and then a lot of money flowing in Vegas. That's what it is. So, with that, we wrap up the NCAA tournament preview. Looking forward to these matchups. Thanks again for listening. Have a good rest of the night. Good night.
Thank you for listening. Primo will be back soon.